And we are back. Whew. We got a lot on here. So, what's going on, guys? This is Jason here, or JC Biggs, and we are now going to be concluding on the Dark Souls trilogy by doing the Dark Souls 3 bosses and putting them into the ultimate Soulsborne tier list. Now, you might be asking, why is this all a jungle fuck of Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, and Bloodborne bosses? Well, I'm here to explain. I ranked them in sequential order of how I feel about each boss, for whatever reason I may. And that is kind of just the basis of it. If you want, like, an idea of what the tiers all mean, aside from, you know, the base meaning that they have, go watch the Dark Souls 1 intro of the video if you don't want to watch the full video. But I encourage you to, as it can give explanations as to why Nito is, like, over bosses like Dark Lurker or you know, Orphan of Kos, because I know it's going to throw some people off. But yeah, that is kind of how I feel. And also, I want to make this clear. My opinions are always subject to change. This tier list may not look the same anymore if I were to do it 2 or 3 years down the line. But yeah, this is how I feel so far with each of the bosses and all that jazz. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy it. We're going to tackle Dark Souls 3 now. And so, quick synopsis. Dark Souls 3 is my favorite game in the series. In my opinion, the game's quintessential component, the main component in all of the Souls games, Bloodborne somewhat, and Elden Ring included, are the bosses. These are the enemies that your character is tasked to go through. Some games, you don't have to run through areas over and over and over again. You can just blitz past it, grab what you need and go. When it comes to bosses, that's not the case. So yeah, they're more important in my honest opinion, and that's why Dark Souls 3 ends up becoming my favorite, because in my opinion, they have the best selection of bosses in the entire series. And I don't know if that's like a hot take or not. I don't really look at other people's opinions too much on the matter, aside from what the basic bitch takes are, because I have quite a few. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. I enjoy doing these lists, so be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you want me to do more lists like this with different games, because the Dark Souls era is coming to an end soon. And I will be moving on to doing different things and trying to keep it varietized for the channel. So let's start. Old Demon King. We got an optional boss right away. Cool. So this is a boss that you can find in the catacombs below... before fighting Walnir and after fighting the Abyss Watchers. In my opinion, this fight is just kind of average. Lore-wise, it's a cool fight. Like, I don't mind it. The issue comes from it just not being really that interesting of a fight. You fight a stray demon in Farron Keep before you fight the Old Demon King, and they basically have the same moveset, except Old Demon has a few AoE attacks that are new, and the Meteor Shower attack is a new attack that's kind of a bitch to dodge. But yeah, it's a lore fight more than anything, though, which is why I'm giving it the average pull, because at least as a lore fight, it's fun enough. But it's just an average fight. It doesn't really do much for me, and I go through many playthroughs without fighting the Old Demon King, as I don't need to. Pontiff Sullivan. This is the boss where I feel like I and most people had their first true roadblock, and Pontiff Sullivan, I'm pretty sure, stole my dignity. And as a fight, I think it's a great fight. It's a well-paced, two-sword wielding knight that I'm pretty sure served under Aldrich and Irithyll, and has a pretty awesome moveset. Some long combos, but they're all very doable and dodgeable. You can parry Pontiff pretty easily. And the second phase is a better version of what Gang Fights got wrong. When he gets into his second phase, he creates a shadow clone version of himself, and whatever the shadow clone does as an attack, that is what Pontiff will do right after, and it keeps that tempo for majority of the fight, and the clone can get killed in like 5 or 6 hits, so you don't really have to worry about, you know, fighting 2 of them at the same time. Just have a little bit of patience, and the fight will be pretty good. It's not like Lawrence level patience where you're waiting for like 20 years. It's like about 10 seconds per hit. Not bad. Good flowy fight. Aldrich is the epitome of meh, and in the worst way possible. Every time I go back and play this fight, I just start to hate it more and more. The lore of Aldrich is cool, and the fact that it's swallowing Gwendolyn is pretty cool, because it's considered, like, I think, like, the God Eater, or, yeah, Devourer of the Gods, it's in its fucking name. But it's a boss that just has a lot of looming projectiles that hone in on you, and a lot of the fight is you trying to get close and get damage in while those, you know, things are hitting you. And you'll get your damage in, and then it will teleport away from you, and then you have to run to it before it does other attacks. The biggest issue that this fight has is the arrow attack, where in its first phase it spreads out, but it will always land on you, and if you don't move, you're just dead, and in the second phase it's even worse. He also likes to spam this attack, where it's just shooting like a beam, and will do it like 5 times in a row if they want to, and it's just not fun at all. It is not a fun fight when they do that. That's why I put it in meh. But because of lore, the arena that you fight Aldrich in, and probably the best part of the fight, the visuals, I think are enough to throw it up at least in meh, but it's not a fight that I always look forward to doing. Yorm. I hate the hate. I hate the hate that Yorm gets. I fucking love this fight. It is very engaging, even with the Storm Ruler. It has a lot of heavy lore and story significance that makes me want to put the fight somewhere like here. Like right here. Very sick design. An awesome weapon that you can get. Arguably one of the best in the game. And on top of that, you can fight him without the Storm Ruler. It's going to take some time, but it's engaging. It's fun. I think the biggest problem, though, that Yorm has is that he doesn't have really that diverse of a moveset. That the moveset should expand a little bit more. But yeah, no, I love Yorm. I love Yorm. Everything about the fight's awesome. And I think the fight's even better when you have Sigurd in the arena with you, and the lore and how it all comes together with the fight and how the fight plays out, I feel like plays into the strengths of Yorm. And I love Yorm as a fight for that. Dancer. This fight is amazing. I'm going to put it at the bottom, though, because it is a solid mid-game boss in comparison to what Dark Souls 3 will have. But what Dancer has that a lot of these other fights don't have is rhythm. And there's a rhythm to fighting Dancer in all of these, like, discrete or different ways. And it keeps the fight engaging, even in its second phase. And I feel like the Dancer as a fight is just really, really well paced and put together. And I feel like the issue is the issue they have with this fight is they put a lot of stock into Dancer herself, and she has like 80 different combos that does take time to learn, and albeit all very fun. The issue is their creative bubble probably like shrunk after creating Dancer as a fight. What is also cool about Dancer is you can do it early game, and it won't completely fuck you. You can still do the fight early game. And if you get early Dancer, you just basically are going to be overpowered until you get to Lothar Castle, which is already open to you, funnily enough. But if you run through everything else before you get to Lothar Castle, you basically are just going to have a fun time getting free shit. So Dancer, amazing fight, well-paced, well put together, and I feel like has a solid placement on the map where it should be. Oseros. I will also have to go with meh, but probably like right here. The lore is great. The boss being able to talk to you the way it does is great. Don't get me wrong. I just don't care about the fight all that much. In its first phase, it doesn't have anything engaging. It's just a frostbite attack that shoots out, and a few attacks that'll go hoo 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 with the weapon that he's holding, or he'll slam down. And he's carrying, I'm pretty sure, his child, so it's like he's already limited on a moveset as it is. He then drops his child, who is Ocelot, goes into this second phase, which I think is a cool transition, don't get me wrong, gets rid of the staff and becomes a beast. The fight then becomes a Bloodborne fight, but with Dark Souls 3 mechanics, and they don't mesh. It's very goofy, to say the least. How it feels, how you fight Oceros is, I don't know how to explain it well. It's very fast paced, but filled with lingering hitboxes and bad vantage points because of the way the map is built with its environment. Like, you can get him stuck inadvertently, or you can literally be in the middle of him and he'll do his spin attack and he won't hurt you with it, and you can just keep beating him up. It's like a weird fight. Very weird. Not one that I thoroughly enjoy. Champion Gundyr. This fight, in my opinion, is the best fight in the game in terms of fun. If you want to have fun doing a fight, Champion Gundyr is the way to go. It's very rhythmic. It's like a dance, much like dancers, but more fun and more engaging. And if you take your time with the fight, you'll actually have fun doing it. Champion Gundyr in his second phase, I wish had a little bit more than just him powering up, but I'm not gonna lie, that's cool. He's the Chad amongst Chads. He is the true test to his Udex form that you fight as the tutorial boss. And also gatekeeps probably one of the best pieces of lore that you will get, and that is the Firelink Shrine in the Dark Dimension, which I think is really, really cool. So yeah, Champion Gundyr, solid fight. Love it. Never hated it. Just great all around. Just great all around. Dragon Slayer Armor, I think is a good fight. On the more underrated side, for sure, and I'll actually throw the fight up here, but it's not as engaging, or it doesn't pull me in like Pontiff does, or Dancer, or Champions. It's just kind of a fight that's there, but it's a really solid knight fight that has a lot of cool moves and different mechanics and all that jazz. I guess for me, throwing it at the top of good is probably because of the butterflies that shoot at you, which is a pain in the ass, but they're the things that control the husk of armor that you are fighting, so fair play, I guess. Still, top of good. Nothing bad about it, just inferior. Lothric. Okay. Every single time I go back and play this fight, sometimes I'll be like, this fight is average at best, and then other times I'll be like, this fight's fucking amazing. So you know what? I'm going to throw it in good, but I'm going to throw it right here. I don't like the fight all that much. The teleporting is weird because he can teleport right behind you, and you don't know what he's going to follow it up with, and he will almost always hit you. He is a Estus Punisher, but not in a fun way. And the second phase is even worse, where you have to deal with multiple different styles of attacks, and it can get very, very overwhelming for no reason. And I feel like that's probably the biggest drawback with the fight. And also, Lothric has the problem of being able to animation cancel via his hyper armor, which I think is bullshit. And that kind of takes the fight away from me for a little bit. But I will say, lore-wise, and, you know, the overall engagement with the mechanics are still enough for me to throw it in good. Just a fight that I don't really care for as much in the good category as I do other fights. Index Finger, Udex Gundyr. This fight's probably the best tutorial boss, so I'll probably throw it like right here. Udex Gundyr teaches you that you can parry, teaches you that the game's going to be at a fast pace, and teaches you that just about every fight's going to have a second phase. Unfortunately, Udex's second phase kind of drags it down a bit. He becomes a pus of man, and the moveset that he gains from it is very, very wonky and weirdly telegraphed to where you can't really tell. So, Udex Gundyr does suffer from that, but aside from that, still a solid fight. Vort. I never cared for this fight. The music is awesome, but that's about as far as I can go with it. He doesn't really have anything engaging for a fight. You kind of just run and smack the booty or get inside like his stomach area and he can't hurt you. That's about as far as it goes. Not that interesting. Cursed Rotted Greatwood. The only reason why that this fight is not in trash is because, much like Pinwheel and Moonlight Butterfly, it gives you something very useful. In which is the Transforming Kiln, which makes me want to put it right here, because I feel like actually no, I'll put it here. I feel like the Rite of Kindling is more important for the game that it's in than the Transporting Kiln. But the Transporting Kiln, for those of you who don't know, is the thing that helps you make boss weapons. And in Dark Souls 3, out of the trilogy, and even in Bloodborne, those are the best weapons to have and are the most fun to use. So he's almost like, you don't have to beat him to beat the game, but if you just want to get a free chunk of souls but not have fun in the process of doing it and be able to create boss weapons, then go for it. Aside from that, I do not like the Curse of Rotted Greatwood. I think it's a bad fight. Crystal Sage. This fight is bottom of meh, and that's me being very nice. The idea of the Crystal Sage in the arena that she's in is cool, but the fight itself sucks. But it has enough redeeming factors for me to throw it in low meh. The fact that they can spam fuck you with magic attacks, and the fact that they can or that she can you know, have tracking attacks when you're trying to get to her, and that she does an insane amount of damage for the time that you do fight her. I feel like they knew that the fight wasn't that hard, so they said, we're just going to make all the magic attacks like exponentially stronger, which I don't think it is a very fun mechanic to have against this boss. Also, a shit fight on Soul Level 1. Deacons of the Deep. This is like the better version of Celestial Emissary, but I would be lying to you if I think that they're that much better. It's more fun, less spammy, and it's a bit of a longer fight. I think the run back kind of takes me away if you do lose to Deacons, but I've beaten the game like upwards of 20 times, and Deacons were always just one-tapped, so I never had to deal with them being like dying to them. So yeah, I that's probably what I would say. I would say Deacons of the Deep are meh. I don't hate the fight. I actually kind of like the Deacons. It's just in comparison to a lot of other fights, it's just not good. Abyss Watchers. Yeah, where else is it going? It's going in the top 10. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. Abyss Watchers are incredibly fun, always engaging, probably one of the best like gank-esque fights, where it's you fight the main Abyss Watcher who has the health bar, and another one will spawn in to fight you, but then another one will spawn in that's corrupted by the Abyss and will attack the other Abyss Watcher almost automatically unless you hit that Abyss Watcher, and that Abyss Watcher will come after you. But it creates like a very interesting dichotomy and keeps the fight and flow very tethered and interesting. And the second phase is really fun. It's a nice dual dance. Not as good as Champion Gundyrs in my opinion, but because this boss also has lore, amazing boss music, and has a really solid first phase in comparison to Champion Gundyr, I'd say that this fight is just better by a small margin. I don't know how this list may go. Champion Gundyr might move down to amazing. We'll just have to see. But for sure, Artorias, Fume Knight, Lady Maria, and Abyss Watchers are top 10 material. Hands down. High Lord Wolnir. Now let's go to the opposite. This fight's here. It's not good. You break 3 gold bracelets and he'll die. He has a weird, like, vape attack that if he hits you with, you'll just die. And his sword, when he spawns it, makes it next to impossible to hit any of the bracelets, so you have to wait, in which in turn, if you wait a little too long, he'll spawn skeletons in the arena that are faster than you into getting to the gold bracelets, and while you try to hit Wolnir, the skeletons will hit you, so you have to kind of clear them out, and doing that while trying to worry about what Wolnir is going to do next to you is annoying. It's a shit fight. And also, it's coupled with a pretty bad run back. Ancient Wyvern, this is a terrible fight. I'm going to put it here. Ancient Wyvern is a level hazard, not a boss. And I wish they just kept it as a level hazard. So basically, they attached a boss health bar to a dragon that you can't, like, directly damage. So you have to go around and go from these hazards to hazards and kill all these annoying Sense Fortress snake enemies, one of them with a giant chained axe that is next to impossible to dodge. You either A, kill them, or B, get past them just to shoddily jump on the top of the head of the Ancient Wyvern and do a plunging attack, which is really weird and sometimes will not work, and you will die if you mess it up. Like, you'll just instantly die. So yeah, not a good fight. Terrible. Even if you do it, it's not even a boss fight. It's free souls, but it's 30,000 free souls. All that for 30k. Boring. Nameless King, on the other hand, though, is an amazing fight. The lore of the Nameless King possibly being Faram, or the god of war, who is also the Forgotten King, the king that allied with the dragons, and his name got erased from history, I think is really cool. Nameless King's first phase is what drags it down from being top 10 to amazing. I don't care for that phase all that much, but the second phase is a top 10 level fight. I love the weird delayed attacks and well-paced, put-together hitboxes. It's kind of like they were making an Elden Ring boss early on and seeing what they could do with it in an optional area, and they did a fantastic job, because the Nameless King is probably the hardest main game fight, and I love it. I absolutely love it. The Nameless King is an awesome fight. Alright. Half-Light, Spear of the Church. Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna lump these two together. They're both poor fights, just more towards the top. Like, Half-Light's here, and Champion's Gravetender's here. This is basically fighting an NPC that has two moves, and the second phase is him calling in this Great Wolf to come and fight you. The Great Wolf is not really mechanically engaging. It's kind of like a shittier version of Sif. And then you got the three dogs that are randomly sprawled across the arena that you have to fight, that the Gravetender has in there. It's just like a weird mess. And it seemed like it was just a rushed idea. Half-Light is a cool idea and concept, but it's actually a pretty bad fight. So either A, you fight Half-Light, which is not a good fight, it's a bad NPC fight, or B, you fight an invader who is waiting to fight you in that arena. And in my honest opinion, that can either make it very fun and easy, or very hard and challenging and not fun. And I don't like that. Fighting Half-Light by himself, in my opinion, is just boring. And spawning in the Painted Guardians don't make it all that much more fun either. Demon Prince. I mean, they are, at the very least, a great fight. Like, we'll see how the list goes. I might actually throw them in amazing. But the Demon Princes are probably the most solid gank fight in the series. You got a fight that has one demon be pretty passive, and the other one that you will fight up front. And depending on which one you kill first, will be the one that you will end up fighting when you kill both in its second phase. And both fights are very different, and I think that is a very, very neat touch that they added to keep the fight in its good graces and keeps it very, like, non-repetitive when you go back and do it. Also, the fact that you fight in Dark Souls 1's Firelink Shrine with this fight, I think is a very nice touch, especially for what the Ring City was going for. Sister Fried. Sister Fried is fucking amazing, right? I'm gonna throw the Fume Knight back here. Right about here. But Sister Fried is absolutely amazing. It's a 3-phase fight, and with each phase being a build-up to what she already has in her kit. And each phase is something different, but it isn't something different to where it's overwhelming every time you do it. The first phase is her normal fight that you have, whether she can go invisible, she has different scythe attacks, she can move around at a quick pace, and has a few projectile attacks that are not too hard to dodge, and have very generous hitboxes. Then you have the second phase where Father Ariandel comes alive, and he is ready to go, and he is going to be the one that comes after you. He makes the arena around you bigger now from destroying all the paintings that are around it that create the false illusion in the painted world, which I think is a really cool touch. So now you got a bigger arena with a bigger dude that's really angry at you, and he's the guy that you mainly have to fight, while Sister Freed shoots passively ice at you unless you go after her, and then she'll start using her main attack against you. I think that is a awesome touch, and they damn near perfected it in that second phase. The third phase, though, is the cherry on top, where you got a fight that has Sister Freed go into her Black Flame mode, where she is a lot more aggressive, has a lot more moves that you can engage with in the fight, and I feel as very fun and difficult and struck the right balance. So, yeah, I'm going to give Sister Freed the number 2 spot so far on this list. It is an unbelievably well put together fight, and for what we got in Dark Souls 3, that's saying something too. Dark Eater Midir, in my opinion, the hardest fight in the series. Even when you're attacking the head, the game's lingering hitboxes still exist, and Dark Eater Midir will always stay on your ass. And since I'm a guy that plays, big, strong sword boy, your timing, your windows and timing of when you swing your sword all depend on how incredibly fast and skilled you are, and it's an endurance test done right. I think that this fight is a solid, great fight, probably here so far. It might go into amazing. Actually, you know what? I'm going to throw it in amazing. I'm going to throw this and Demon Princess in amazing, and I'm going to rank them like so. Fantastic fights. What's next? Slave Knight Gale. I don't think I need to explain why that this is the best fight in the series, but it's like Knight Artorias is like a 10, right? Like everything in the top 10 I would put as a 10 out of 10 as a fight. Slave Knight Gale lives on a league of its own, and one other fight in the series I think of it the same, and that's an Elden Ring, and we'll get to that soon. And Slave Knight Gale is just incredibly fun. The music, the soundtrack in the arena when you fight him, how it crescendos as you are fighting Slave Knight Gale in a stronger state when he realizes that he has fused with the Dark Soul and has devoted his promise, and he goes from fighting you as a human to fighting you as a hollow, and as a hollow he is a piece of shit. But no, the fight is incredibly paced. He has a large health bar, and it's a fast-paced fight that is telegraphed in a way to keep it fun, keep it engaging, and keep it refreshing. You're also fighting him at the end of the fucking world, arguably the best boss arena in the series, and just a perfect way to cap off the rest of the story, and a way to get the quote-unquote good ending that's not in the record books, but of you painting a world to where people can be free by using the Dark Soul that Gale has. Everything from the very first time you meet him in Cathedral with the DLC builds up to this moment. They did a fantastic job. In my opinion, best fight in the entire series. Soul of Cinder. Best main game fight in the series? Absolutely. Soul of Cinder is in my number 5 spot. There's only, I think, 1 or 2 other fights that I would put in top 10, and they're all in Elden Ring. And Soul of Cinder is just incredibly fun. So you're basically going against yourself from Dark Souls 1 and a mix of Gwyn and anybody else who chose to link the fire. You don't fight Gwyn until second phase, and you get probably the best soundtrack swap you will ever hear in the game, with an updated moveset of Gwyn's mixed with a new and fresh health bar in an arena that looks absolutely gorgeous, with the beautiful Eclipse Dark Sign skyline that was a direct influence from Berserk. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Soulless Cinder does not have anything bad as a fight. Sure, it's quote-unquote unoriginal with its movesets, but I'm pretty sure that was the whole idea and point. And a lot of the moves that he uses against you are some pretty interesting new ones that you can use. Or that you can't use with your kits, so I think that's also really cool. But yeah, I do enjoy Soulless Cinder. Awesome fight. Everything about it is just the feels, bro. The feels. But yeah, that's Dark Souls 3. We are now tackling Elden Ring, and that will be the last one we'll probably tackle for a little while. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if I got anything wrong, or let me know how dumb I am for putting Ornstein and Smo in good, or, where was it? Putting the Moon Presence in average, or something along those lines. Just let me know in the comments, and, we'll see what we can do with Elden Ring, and how I feel about all the Elden Ring bosses. So, hope you guys enjoy. Peace.